initial insight we had was the concept, if this AI can generate content, it must have an ability to interpret it. And that presents a very interesting paradigm of problems that you can solve that previously were maybe impractical or not even possible. Most of our customers kind of looked at us and went, that's not really why we're here. What this enables us to do is change or transform the way the process works so that it can be done significantly faster. We can improve the level of quality. You inject it and use it very tactically at a specific point in time in a process where there's a content dependency.
Today, we're diving into the transformative world of applied generative AI, process automation, focusing on how a leading software company is enabling global enterprises to automate complex human-dependent workflows. Hi everyone, this is Maheen and welcome to the CanadianSME Small Business Podcast, where we explore the strategic insights and innovative solutions empowering businesses to thrive in the digital age. Today, we're diving into the transformative world of applied generative AI, process automation, focusing on how a leading software company is enabling global enterprises to automate complex human-dependent workflows. Because in an era where efficiency and data processing are paramount, GenAI presents a new paradigm for technology change, one that prioritizes speed, quality, and human operator empowerment. Our guest is a recognized leader with over a decade of experience and expertise in financial services, technology, and RegTech. Joining us is Adrian Murray, the founder and CEO of Fisent Technologies. Adrian leads the development of Fisent BizAI, a solution that automates content interpretation and analysis, freeing up human operations to focus on higher value tasks. His background spans core banking technology, compliance, and payment systems. And today we'll discuss the power of applied GenAI process automation, the true value drivers of AI implementation, how GenAI is transforming technology change, and the company's vision for the future. So without further ado, let's dive in and welcome our guest, Adrian. Adrian, we're very pleased to have you on the show today. How are you?
Doing well, thanks. How are you?
Very well. Thank you so much for being here on the show with us. Now, Adrian, Fisent specializes in applied GenAI process automation, as highlighted in my intro a couple of times, which is a discipline focused on automating tasks that historically required human involvement. So let's start with the foundational concept. Tell us, how does Fisent BizAI use generative AI to automate content-heavy processes like complaint resolution and onboarding, and what impact does this have on businesses?
Yeah, it's a great topic. So the initial insight we had that sort of created this product BizAI that we developed and have taken to the market was the concept as we were exploring the potential of generative AI technology 3+ years ago when it sort of burst onto the scene with ChatGPT. We had this early insight which said, hey, if this AI can generate content, it must have an ability to interpret it. And that was sort of the very first kernel that led us down the road of building out this solution, which effectively is a way to use generative AI, other technologies as well, but it's at its core powered by large language models, to be able to understand and interpret content, documents, spreadsheets, emails, images, really any multimedia content you're receiving as part of a business process, understand that content as a human would. And that presents a very interesting paradigm of problems that you can solve that previously were maybe impractical or not even possible before this technology.
Mm-hmm. That's a very clear explanation, Adrian, and it highlights that GenAI's value is in its ability to really understand and process complex content, a task previously reserved for humans. Now let's kind of explore the true value drivers of AI implementation, which are speed and quality, which your experience shows are often overlooked. Adrian, you found that the primary benefits customers gain from AI are significant increases in speed and dramatic improvements in quality, contrary to initial expectations focused solely on cost savings. How did Fisent BizAI help a bank in a major M&A by scanning and indexing thousands of documents, saving time, improving speed, quality, and compliance?
Yeah, no, so it's a very interesting kind of insight because I think when we developed the software and went to market very early on, we thought, okay, of course the thing everyone's going to get excited about is saving money. I mean, when you think about it, AI, it can do things for pennies.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's much more expensive to have a human operator completing that task. And what was really interesting and very powerful was that most of our customers kind of looked at us and went, that's not really why we're here and working with you. What this enables us to do is change or transform the way the process works so that it can be done significantly faster,
Mm-hmm.
or we can improve the level of quality we're providing or the level of quality of the service we're providing. So the example you mentioned, yeah, it was a really interesting case. We had a bank that was a customer of ours or is a customer of ours, and what had happened was they purchased another bank as happens. There was an M&A transaction. And this bank's a very digital kind of forward bank. All of their sort of systems and customer documentation are digitized. They have software running a lot of the business. The bank they bought, it was a smaller one, uh, more of a legacy bank. They had a lot of paper content. And actually, what they found when they went in was that all of the customer documentation and the files that were necessary to actually run banking operations were largely physical. They
Mm-hmm.
were stored in boxes in warehouses and things like that. And this was not actually their first experience with that challenge. A number of years before, they had done another M&A transaction. And at that time, before this technology was available, the solution was people. So
Right.
they would hire a huge number of sort of temp folks to come in and sit there, 8, 10 hours a day, indexing, sorting, organizing, scanning all of these documents, manually coding them all in the back end systems. And what we pretty quickly realized with them was that actually our technology was a great fit for the problem, in that instead of having humans have to spend what would have been tens of thousands of hours to process the amount of content they had to digitize, they were able to use our service kind of on the back of their scanning process to do all of the classification, metadata extraction, indexing of all the documents, massively reducing the time frame. And the other sort of reason that's important is a lot of the time when a financial institution goes through an M&A transaction, there's regulatory timelines.
Mm-hmm.
So some of it's not just driven by um, a need to speed up the process for the sake of it, but actually there's other external factors that force the bank to take action. And historically, you just would have to throw people at the problem, which isn't always even possible in a short time frame. So kind of an interesting way to apply the technology and solve the problem in a new way, which now is something I think we can apply in many other places.
That's a fantastic and quantifiable anecdote, Adrian. It perfectly illustrates how GenAI can solve massive real world operational bottlenecks and create immense value. Listeners, if you're struggling to scale your AI initiatives beyond the pilot phase, then please learn from this conversation that we had today with Adrian about the power of applied GenAI process automation, how to focus on speed and quality, and the key insights for navigating the future of enterprise technology change. Now, let's continue our conversation with Adrian. Now, let's discuss how GenAI is transforming the way enterprises think about technology change and the challenges of scaling AI successfully. Because, Adrian, much of the technology transformation at large enterprises historically involved a fundamental shift in how customers engaged with enterprise. And GenAI presents a new paradigm, as you mentioned. Tell us, how is GenAI giving customers more choice? And how does Fisent's focus on consistency and scalability help businesses move from failed pivot pilots to successful AI adoption?
Yeah. So this is another very interesting kind of insight that we have discovered on our journey of sort of developing software and then actually implementing and integrating it at large enterprises, primarily financial institutions, which is sort of where we focus. And what we stumbled into was this interesting realization that the previous, say, 20 years of technology transformation, if you're at a large institution and you think about changing the way your back office processes work, let's say you want to do, you want to advance your payment capabilities. You want to move into a new digital era of payment processing. And historically, maybe those things have been done more manually. Often the change was forced into what we call the channel. So in the context of a bank, that might be the branch. You'd have experienced that if you go into a branch now, there's digital kiosks. They want you to go online. And some of that's absolutely positive. And there's a real great line there. But there's a whole segment of the population that actually kind of, for many good reasons, resists some of that digital change and new way of engaging with something that they care a lot about or trust, their bank. And what's very interesting now that we're talking to customers about is this concept of shifting where the change happens. So instead of necessarily forcing change into the channel, because you had to get customers into a structured, validated, digital form-based process, if they go online and enter everything's structured, it's all validated, you can be sure that it's usable for your back-end systems to create automation. Actually, one of the bridges now between, say, paper-based process or more manual interaction in say, a physical location like a branch, and the advanced automation that financial institutions are trying to drive in the back end can be this type of technology. So BizAI is being used in this exact way today to sort of bridge that gap. And I think tying into the second part of your comment around sort of failed adoption, this is obviously an area right now where there's a lot of, I would say, attention, because many enterprises have spent an incredible amount of money over the last 2-3 years trying to pilot and develop some of this technology. And now we're starting to see what is working and what's not working. And I think some of these insights and understandings of where to apply this technology to ensure that you are getting the most value, but also setting yourself up for success, it's critical to sort of understand where the technology works well and doesn't work so well. And obviously, we have a particular view on that, which is you inject it and use it very tactically at a specific point in time in a process where there's a content dependency. And there's many other applications of GenAI, chat, search, knowledge bases, many other things that we at Fisent don't focus on, but many other companies are doing great work there. But understanding and applying the technology in the right place and to a problem that is, can be solved is I think some of the answer to where you see a lot of these efforts and pilots and projects not going so well versus the ones, fortunately, that we're involved in and others that have been successful.
Mm-hmm. No, that's a very strategic perspective, Adrian, and it's clear that GenAI is fundamentally changing the way enterprises really think about the technological change. We'll take a short break, so don't go anywhere. When we return, we'll dive into Fisent BizAI's latest innovations and the power of human oversight in complex workflows.
Hey, you think you know UPS? Yeah, that's us. Everybody knows that. You know what you didn't know? This. Okay, try to keep up. Ocean, us. Ground, rail, air, so us. Guess who? Us. Customs cleared, borders cleared, done. Us. You still with me? Wait for it. Boom. Us. Intelligent, automated, fulfillment. Us. Yep. Healthcare too. Digital your thing? Yeah. Well, book it, ship it, track it. You feeling me yet? Yep. That's all us. That's all UPS.
Welcome back, everyone. Now let's explore how Fisent BizAI's cutting-edge innovations and the human-in-the-loop approach are driving accuracy, compliance, and efficiency for enterprises embracing applied GenAI process automation. Now let's look at Fisent BizAI's unique innovations, including its commitment to accuracy and the role of human oversight. Because Adrian, your platform recently added a new confidence rating capability and enhanced its solutions with BizAI actions. And this kind of highlights your commitment to precision. Please tell us, how does Fisent's new confidence rating help regulated businesses manage risks by flagging when human review is needed while still freeing tasks for high-value tasks?
Yeah, so there's a few layers to this set of challenges. One of the things that we live through as a company is, as we're working with our customers and actually helping them get this technology into production, not just sort of licensing it to them. That's challenging enough, especially as a smaller company working with large enterprises, but also working with them through the journey of being able to get it to the point where they actually feel like the value's there enough that they're going to use it in a production context, in a real life context. There's a series of challenges that have come up. We started with addressing accuracy. One of the very early questions or challenges customers brought to us was, hey, it seems like this stuff is working, but how do we objectively measure that? We need a sort of a real statistical objective basis to make those decisions. And so we developed a testing and assessment framework we called GenAI Efficacy Framework. Sort of shortly following the development and release of that set of capabilities, the next thing folks started asking was, hey, okay, now that we understand before we start using this technology that it works, what happens once we're in production and we're running? So at runtime, how do we understand whether or not we should involve a human in the process? And human-in-the-loop validation is sort of a foundational pillar of AI governance everywhere, where everyone's being responsible. Making sure that people are aware of the process, are validating it. It's not just kind of let AI go and hope everything goes well. It's having strong guardrails in place. But customers were pushing us for more of a technology solution to that problem, as opposed to, again, just sort of throwing people at it. And that's where we developed what we call our confidence rating capability. And this is a unique technique that we developed, our team built, which leverages a few different strategies to basically be able to evaluate content and make sense of whether or not that content and the AI's response is consistent. And you can think of it like, it's interesting. So some of the things you can do with AI, it's very powerful because you can sort of apply knowledge-based concepts, but at scale. So one of them that we apply in confidence is what we call multi-model similarity. And this is basically the idea that, if we sat in a room and we presented a question to everybody in the room, if we had a panel of experts, we could effectively poll and triangulate their answers and say, hey, if everyone gives me the same answer, I'm pretty confident we have the right thing here. If I get 4 different answers from 4 people in the room, I might want to question whether the answer I received originally is valid. And so that, among other techniques, sort of form the basis for what we call our confidence rating. What customers use it for is as one of many, not the only, indicators to tell them, hey, this particular process for this particular action or piece of content it might make sense to have a human step into the workflow, and that's often built in by design to all of these processes that we're developing together with our customers. Yeah.
That's a very practical innovation, Adrian, and it highlights the importance of the human in the loop for regulated and complex workflows. Finally, let's discuss your global growth, industry recognition, and the long-term vision. Because Adrian, Fisent has achieved 200% customer base growth in 2024 alone, exceeded its seeding funding, and was named to the KM World AI 100 list. And this is quite a strong testament to the company's success. Please tell us, what is your long term vision for Fisent Technologies and applied GenAI process automation? And how will global events like the Cybos and ITC Vegas shape its role in financial services and content centric work?
Yeah, so we've been on a little bit of a conference tour the last few weeks, and that's kind of continuing through October, sort of going to some of the major financial services events internationally where our customers are. I think what we're seeing is there is a validation of what we're doing. We obviously want to continue sort of the growth trajectory and capitalizing on the opportunity we've found so far. I think when I think forward to how the company is going to develop and scale, one of the things that we try to do a lot is learn from the patterns and experiences we're seeing across our customer base. So we have a sort of unique view of the applied AI landscape because we have customers in different disciplines and different geographic locations applying the same technology. And what we try to do is look at the patterns we see and project forward kind of how those patterns might become either evolutions of the product or new offerings in the market. So one of the things we're looking at and exploring now is sort of, as we're working with many customers on the same set of problems, do those problems actually themselves kind of have fundamental consistency between them that we can start creating something like what we call accelerators that would effectively let, whether it's a bank or a mortgage company or an investment advisor, to, instead of having to start from more of the ground up approach of building the technology, can they get right to the end solution using some pre-built or accelerated workflows? And obviously that'll be powered by AI. So that's, I think, a very exciting kind of next step to where we go, just getting closer and closer to the solution for our customers as opposed to the technology. We always try to focus on the business outcome. And then, my personal hope is that we're going to continue to grow and expand the company here in Canada. We've had a lot of success actually internationally, a lot of success in the United States. The Canadian market is always a little bit slower, especially with newer technology to adopt. We're now starting to see that open up, whether it's banks and insurance companies and other folks we're starting to engage with. And growing our footprint, growing our team and our presence here is a big priority, I would say, over the next year or two.
That is an ambitious and inspiring vision, Adrian. Thank you so much. It's quite clear that Fisent is committed to making a significant impact on global enterprises, and we wish you all the best with that. But this has been a great conversation with you. Thank you for highlighting so many great insights for our listeners today. As we wrap up, if you could leave our listeners with one key message about navigating the age of AI with confidence, what would it be?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think the most important thing to do is to think about this technology in both the same but a different way as before. And what I mean by that is, it is technology. AI is like cloud computing, like mobile, like the internet. It's a new evolution of software technology that's been developed, but it has some very unique properties. And often when I'm challenged with a problem, what I find myself doing more and more with AI is saying, well, what do people do today? And often those two things map a lot closer than people would expect. So I find that to be a useful approach or technique to thinking about how to use the technology, is looking at the problems that maybe previously were challenges that you felt had to be addressed by a person, and now thinking about, okay, what part of that can AI be applied to? And then how do I do that responsibly and at scale and all those sorts of things? So
That was a powerful and an essential message, Adrian. Thank you so much for being on the show with us. It was a great pleasure having you on it. And thank you again for sharing your vision and your expertise with us.
Thanks so much.
And that was an insightful conversation with Adrian Murray on the power of applied GenAI process automation, the true value drivers of AI, GenAI's new paradigm for technology change and Fisent's innovation, and his vision for the future of financial services. Thank you for tuning into the podcast. We really appreciate your continued support. Please be sure to subscribe to our podcast for more expert insights and resources that can help your business thrive. You can also visit our website, CanadianSME.ca, for valuable tools and information. A special shout out before we leave to RBC, UPS, A1 Global College, ADP, and Google for their ongoing commitment to empowering small businesses in Canada. Until next time, please keep innovating and striving for success. We'll see you in the next episode.